Let's see what Perrier's got to say about that. British Public Relations Specialist, former Director of Communications in Downing Street. Katie, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. Big story today about this football match being sort of affected by the fact that an Israeli team is wanting to come to play football in Birmingham, and the fans are told they can't come because their safety can't be guaranteed. And then I'm reading this piece in the Times about how apparently people that work in the public sector have got some very strange views. It's all a bit worrying, isn't it?
This is a real test for Prime Minister Starmer to put down his authority. As you say, he's gone to social media and said that he disagrees with this decision, that it's wrong. And now the government is going to find itself in this position where it doesn't like to meddle on operational things. That's its answer to why it didn't meddle in the China case. And yet it's going to be forced to do so. Really, you cannot have a scenario where people aren't welcome in Britain because there is some kind of divide. There is too much danger. Their safety cannot be guaranteed. That can't be allowed to happen. And so Keir Starmer needs to do everything in his power to make sure this goes ahead, because on the face of it, this just looks like a regular football game. It is so much more than a regular football game. It's to make sure that on a world stage we are showcasing that, of course, things like this can go ahead.
Yeah.
And that people are welcome and cared for in Britain in terms of our neighbours. I don't want to go down that route of all Muslims feel this way in Birmingham. They do not. There are many people that are caring. You can dislike Netanyahu and dislike Hamas. You don't have to take sides here. What you can be really clear about is that people should be welcome, and that, of course, their safety should be guaranteed. If I was Keir Starmer today and I was advising him as his comms director inside Number 10, I'd be saying, do you know what? If you have to bring in the army, bring in the army. Yeah. It's something that's so important.
Yeah. I mean, if you were advising Keir Starmer this week, you'd probably be tearing your hair out, wouldn't you? Because, I mean, it started off with him being humiliated in Sharm el-Sheikh by the President of the United States of America, who called him up to the podium and then turned his back on him, and he made him look like a complete and utter idiot in front of the entire world. Then he comes home and he gets all these questions about China. He has to admit in Commons questions that basically what Dan Jarvis, his junior minister, had said earlier in the week wasn't true, and in fact there was a meeting that took place. You know, they're all over the place on it. It looks as though something's not right, and now finally he's got this problem.
It's not been a great week for them off the back of what they consider to be a relatively successful party conference season for them. The problem is of course, if you look at this on paper, most of these problems are caused in terms of a world stage. They're China problems, they're Israel problems, they are issues that are happening around the world. Britain is involved in. Of course, people at home that are getting more and more dissatisfied. You know, we just heard on the show earlier Rachel Reeves saying that the economy is growing and people got more wages in their pockets. They simply don't feel that way. No. They are having to take on more hours at work. 80,000 jobs have been lost in the hospitality sector since the government increased NICs last year, national insurance contributions on salaries. They are not feeling that at home. So they're seeing Starmer fight all these battles on the world stage, and yet at home things aren't improving. Yeah. Real problem, and that's ground that reform led by Nigel Farage is clearly seeking to take advantage of.
Absolutely right, because one of the things that people used to say about Starmer was, you know, he might not be that great of a prime minister, but at least he's good on the world stage. He's a bit of a statesman, you know, he likes to go around the world shaking hands with, you know, other world leaders. But unfortunately that whole myth has now been exploded because of what happened in the Middle East, and particularly when he came back and then again kept trying to still claim that he played this great key role when everybody could see that he was just a laughingstock.
Well, the thing is actually Starmer played Trump very, very well at the beginning of his premiership, and he was asked to be pulled between pillar to post to criticise Trump on this, that and the other. He worked Trump quite well and has got a good working relationship. But Trump is so incredibly unpredictable. When I worked at Number 10, often at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was dealing with tweets and statements from Trump, trying to deal with them, because one day he's your best friend and the next day he's basically saying behind the scenes that you're a weak leader. Right. It's incredibly hard to tread, and therefore you've got to be, think of every angle, and you've got to war game every scenario. And on reflection, of course, it was unwise for Starmer to go on stage with Trump because he's unpredictable. And so you can't predict whether or not he's going to dismiss you or make you look silly, right, or whether or not he's going to make you look like the king of tomorrow. And so you're better off actually saying some of these things are not worth the risk. And having Labour politicians on the airwaves at the weekend saying that Starmer played a key role in securing this peace deal, well, you've got to back that up with evidence. And I'm not sure they have done that.
No. Well, there wasn't any, and that doesn't
especially declaring that, recognising the state of Palestine. Not sure that helped matters in the run-up, and I don't think that won Trump's, support even more so towards Britain. So I think that they're playing, a dangerous game, and actually maybe need to be a little bit more reserved on some of those things.
But doesn't that reveal a bit of naivety on his part, though? If he's meant to be this sort of master statesman and master strategist, abroad, he's pretty much proved that that's not true.
Well, the thing is also is that, yes, and you go down that route and you find yourself doing everyday international affairs, which of course you could do, but that's what you've got a foreign secretary for.
Yeah.
You need to get back to the day job of making sure that this economy works, changing the government, how long it takes to get anything done in Britain and how much money we spend trying to get it done. I speak to international investors on a weekly basis who are umming and ahhing around sticking any money in Britain because the machine is not working quick enough. And this government tends to think, oh, well, we might get it moving by next year and therefore they might come and invest again. It doesn't work like that. Money needs to make money. It doesn't sit still. They vote with their feet. They go elsewhere. And if you look at the forthcoming budget, all we're being told is there's going to be, hits on the wealthy, that those that are aspirational, that maybe come from nothing, who, when they bought their assets, they already have paid the tax on those assets. So they've bought those with taxed money. Are going to be hit even harder. And what are those people going to do? They're going to look at the first plane out of here and they're going to go and relocate to Dubai. They're going to go relocate to Italy. And so that's not going to give them the kind of income that you need. So that the taxes that we're looking at and in the budget coming up are possibly going to fall on the middle classes that can't afford any more costs. So there really needs to be more attention focused on how we can get this economy motoring, how we can get growth in the regions. I'm looking forward to hearing from politicians in the next few weeks regarding the investment summit in the West Midlands to see how that plays out, what kind of announcements they might make there. But the focus really needs to be on cracking this problem here in Britain rather than necessarily dealing with everything around the world.
Yeah, exactly right. Katie, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Katie Perrior, words of wisdom for Keir Starmer. I wonder if he'll listen to them. You could have the show on, couldn't he? He could complain about more night times that I've called him a liar. She's, of course, British Public Relations Specialist and knows a thing or two about running Downing Street because she was Director of Communications there under Theresa May.